Jal, I heard you singing the other day. I peeked in. You were applying lotion to your neck. Flaps.
You're mistaken.
About...
The singing. However, the daily application of hydrogenated ash salve is important to keep my neck flaps glossy.
So many questions.
What's going on, guys? It's Dajhier, and today I'm going to be reviewing Mass Effect Andromeda. If you're not familiar with Mass Effect, it's basically a third-person shooter with like RPG elements. It has like, for a while, I mean, with 2, it seemed like really reminiscent of Gears of War type cover and mechanics with that, and it's just like a hybrid series of shooting, RPG elements, and yeah, like it was just different. I don't feel like Mass Effect is like any other shooter, like, at all. It's just its own entity that I love and I'm a fan of, and I've been a fan of since the beginning. So, like most people, I was initially very hesitant when I heard they were making yet another Mass Effect. But for the most part, all my worries and doubts were for nothing. This is the 4th game in the entry. It's a standalone. Even though it's a sequel, it's a standalone game. I don't think this game should be compared in the entirety to the trilogy. I feel like that's unfair for a standalone game to be compared to the legacy of 3 whole games. I don't think that's right, and that's not what I'm going to be doing here. It takes place 600 years after the original trilogy. Kind of, it's towards the beginning or somewhere during the events of Mass Effect 2, after the Reaper threat is starting to gain some traction. Somebody has actually took it within themselves to start an initiative to send the 4 main council species, the humans, the Turians, the Solarians, and Asari, out into the neighboring galaxy of Andromeda. So this trip takes over 600 years, and once you get into this new galaxy, you find that all these golden worlds, they coined them, that were supposed to be the new planets for each species to kind of go to and colonize. There's something like terribly wrong with each and every one of them. So this is where you come in as a new protagonist. You play as either male or female Ryder. They are twin brother and sisters, and your father is the human Pathfinder, which is basically like, picture a Spectre on like steroids. Like, they basically are kind of like the law around this lawless new galaxy, and they pathfind. They find new planets, try to find new homes for everyone. Your father is the human Pathfinder. Each arc has one, and something horribly wrong happens to your father, and you have to take his place. Ryder as a protagonist is new. He's untested, or she. Ryder is like a young 20-year-old just trying to figure out how to lead and how to become a good person, I guess. I mean, they're relatively untested and new, and I don't really think they're as interesting as Shepard was. Shepard had 3 games to become interesting, so I'm not gonna hold it against the writers. But I don't have a problem with Andromeda's, and it, like the narrative in a broad sense. I feel like this is a really fresh idea, and if it was executed properly, it'd be great. But a lot of the smaller details start to pile up and make this experience a little bit negative, in my opinion. Like, for the fact that there is a lack of some Milky Way species in the game, like the Quarians, for example. They're like the biggest example I can think of. But, there's a lack of the Volus, the Drow, the Hanar. They're just like gone. They don't have arcs. They're not there yet. So I find it kind of hard to believe not one of these arcs have at least one Quarian on board, especially considering they're like the best engineers in the galaxy. But, cool, whatever, we don't have Quarians. So once you start to explore these new worlds and, try to figure out the root of the issue here, you start to figure out that these planets, their weathers, are controlled by the remnant vaults, which are it's like remnant technology from a precursor species. Like, they were super highly advanced, and they were around maybe thousands of years before you got there, hundreds, we don't really know. But I guess one day they just decided, fuck Andromeda, we're going somewhere else, and they left all their technology behind. You sort of see the constant trend of this game is, hey, we're having a problem. Let's just turn on some of the technology, and it solves whatever problem we're having. So, biggest example I could think of is just like, you have this big ice ball planet, which is like freezing below 0 temperatures. You know, you go out there, you're just like a fucking icicle in like under 2 seconds. You turn on this vault, you know, bam, it's fucking Hawaii, bruh. You know, you're chilling. You got your fucking Four Locos, you know, I don't know whatever the hell you drink on the beach, and it's just living a life. And it's kind of hand waving, in like, in my opinion, when it comes to the writing of the game. Like, if you have a situation that you can't write that well, the easiest way to get past this conflict is just to have something come in and just solve the problem for you. You know, like, it's just weak, and I don't really like it. I'm not really a fan of so many of these game series and movie series doing these precursor species, like constantly, like on and on and on. It's like we have it in the Aliens franchise, Halo, the original Mass Effect trilogy. It's just tired and it's old. But moving on, we get to performance. Easily the most controversial topic of Andromeda is the performance issues. I'm sure by now you are completely familiar with the goofy facial animations of the human characters, the really weird bugs and glitches visually of some of the models just glitching all the way out, enemy models just T-posing in the middle of fights. I've seen some NPC characters, while you're talking to them, just kind of like roll their entire bodies. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's just odd bugs and glitches that you kind of don't really expect from BioWare. I mean, maybe Bethesda, but it was kind of surprising coming from BioWare. And if I'm speaking personally, I didn't have any game-breaking bugs or anything of that sort. I had very minor visual glitches with AI and like small bugs with like conversations where I'll be talking to a character and like I walk in the room and they'll be like staring at their feet like, "Ryder, it's good to see you." And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's good to see you too." You know, like looking up in the fucking air. Like, it's like what's going on with the characters? Like their eyes, like, I don't know what the hell they're looking at. But that stuff, to me, it didn't bother me. I had 70 hours in the game, 97% completion rate. It didn't really bother me through the majority of it. But it'd be irresponsible with me not to, like, you know, at least talk about some of the glitches I've seen around the internet. Like, I've seen some major game-breaking shit, things that go way beyond just visual. And although I did not experience it, it is important that I at least, you know, talk about it. Like, they're out there for some people, and some of these glitches will ruin your experience of your game. And if you're not really willing to, what's the word? Take the gamble on buying this game and seeing what type of glitches you get, maybe you shouldn't.
I'm really glad you volunteered to join our crew, by the way.
I am too. New galaxy and all. I'm honored to be here.
No, I mean, I think you're cute and I like seeing you up here.
Oh my goodness, Ryder.
Also, the accent. The accent is, I mean, it's not the only thing, but, okay, I should just go over there to the piloting thing.
Kill me now.
Ryder, thank you. And so, you know, the feeling's mutual.
Yes! I mean, time to pathfind. Serious business. Saving everyone.
Moving on to gameplay. Easily the game's highlighting strength is the gameplay. It is the absolute best it's been in this series, and it's some of my favorite third-person gameplay, like shooter gameplay in any shooter, regardless of like any franchise. Controls are fucking tight, you know, like button mapping is pretty good, except for the fact that melee's on the Y button. You know, it's like, why? But I mean, whatever. Like, the power is all like locked to like an individual cooldown now, so it's not like before they were all on a universal cooldown. You have to use one ability and just wait before you can use another one. It's like, no, you have 3 abilities you can just use at any time and wait for their individual cooldowns. So I personally went through this game as a engineer. I stuck to a certain class, I stuck to a certain profile, and I just became like a low cooldown, like, tech god. It was amazing. Like, I wish I recorded some of my gameplay so you guys could see how fucking overpowered I was. But the cool thing about Andromeda is you don't have to actually tie yourself down to a single class. You can mix and match. You can do whatever you want. You have some biotics with some tech. You have some more like soldier abilities geared towards some tech abilities. You know, like, the world is yours. It's a really interesting thing they've done, unlocking all these powers for you to just use in any one of your playthroughs. Like, I commend them for it, even though I did not personally do it. I commend them. It's a really good decision. Thumbs up. You can't see me giving thumbs up, and I'm giving you a thumbs up. Andromeda also marks the return of the Mako, which comes back in Andromeda as the Nomad, which is something I was really hesitant about because the Mako was easily one of the worst parts of the first Mass Effect game. Which, speaking of the first Mass Effect game, I feel like this reminded me the most of the first Mass Effect, you know? Which is a good thing, but the Nomad is absolutely amazing to drive. I feel like I never was bored when I was in it. Even if I was going from one side of the map to another, it was just interesting. I like the ability to switch from 4-wheel drive to 6-wheel drive for better traction going up mountains. Being able to jump once I started upgrading my shit, like, I got fucking major airtime. Like, it was fucking dope. And, like, I was delightfully surprised to see the Nomad was not a complete drag to drive in, and I was not completely miserable like I was playing Arkham Knight, which is the last like game I played where they added like a vehicle aspect, which I was not really into at all. And I think that has a lot to do in part with the fact that there's no combat tied to the vehicle parts of the game, so there's not a whole new system for you to relearn. So kudos to the Nomad. Also, if you haven't heard by now, Andromeda is the first like attempt at like open world, which I'm kind of burnt out on open world games if I'm being completely honest with you guys, but Andromeda, I kind of enjoyed the entirety of the experience. Besides a few of the quests, some of the side quests are kind of like fetchy. Like, hey, go get this, go get this, go get this. Now, guess what? You have to go to another planet, talk to this one guy, and come back to this planet. That shit is when Andromeda's at its weakest when it comes to the gameplay. Not a fan. I hope they learn to never do that shit again, because it's super lame. Speaking of more shit that's lame, the planet scanning is back. As boring as ever. It was so unnecessary. Kind of in a weird way, you get more materials while you're on the planets running around than you actually get from mining them out of orbit, which makes zero sense. But I mean, like, whatever. I understand why it's there, but I think BioWare needs to really go back to the drawing board and find a way to make this just more engaging. I'm not completely sure how they could do it, but I'm sure they can, like, find some type of way to make this more engaging, so it's not like I'm literally sitting in the galaxy map for like 5 minutes exploring galaxies, just scanning planets. Like, it's beyond boring. Like, really, that 5 minutes feels like an hour. But all in all, like I said, this game's strength comes from its core gameplay. It has like very few negatives in my opinion, and oh man, I just remembered the very last thing that bothers me about this game's gameplay is the change to the power system. Although it's very fluid in gameplay and like in the middle of firefights, the one thing it did, which I just completely am not a fan of for the franchise, was it took away the power wheel, which means it took away the ability for you to control your allies in battle, which is easily the most frustrating thing about the combat to me in this game, because I would prime up a target with like a cryo beam, for example, and I'd be like, hey Vetra, I need a concussive shot. So I tag her on the enemy, but like a second before I tagged her on the enemy, she already shot off the shot randomly at some random asshole across the map with shields. So he just tanks it like, bitch. And the fucking guy already primed, he's just sitting there frozen on the ground. His friends are like turning around looking at me like, look at this fucking asshole. And I get lit up and I die because my fucking teammates already used the abilities there, like I wanted them to stand by on, to actually create a explosion that actually fuck up more than one person, but it happened so much during the game that it became so annoying. I feel like Andromeda has some of the best powers in the series, and your squad mates actually make a difference on the field, but it's just like you're not in control of that difference. So it's like very frustrating, and I don't know if they'll be able to fix this somehow with some type of update, or if we have to wait till the next entry in the series. But I just hope they go back to how it was before. Moving on to multiplayer. The multiplayer of Andromeda is basically almost exactly how it was in Mass Effect 3. It's basically a horde mode where you pick your character with 3 other squad mates and you go in and you survive. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure by now you guys are extremely familiar with horde modes. I do think Mass Effect is a little different in regards to like a Gears of War, because there's more than just guns you're bringing to a fight. You're bringing powers, and if you actually work in conjunction with your team, you guys can be fucking bio explosions, tech explosions all fucking day, because you guys are just communicating and your powers actually are key to what you're doing. I heard somebody say that Mass Effect 3 multiplayer was easily the most slept on multiplayer in 2012. I'm sure Andromeda will be in 2017. The gameplay is amazing. The only negative of the multiplayer is the fact that it is peer-to-peer, so if you're playing with somebody from across the fucking world, you're shit out of luck. Andromeda is a mixed bag, to put it lightly. I feel like where it succeeds like really well, like with the core gameplay, like the graphics. If I haven't touched on them at all before, they're amazing. A really cool setting and like a really fresh new idea that I feel like could have worked a lot better than it actually has. It's just like the little things, like I said earlier, little things that just are little by themselves, they add up and they detract from the entirety of the experience, which is extremely disappointing, because we expect like great from this series. The original trilogy is great. Like, it's easily one of my favorite trilogies of gaming of all time. Now, do I think Andromeda is a bad game? Definitely not. Would I recommend you buy it? I think I would. I mean, if you're a fan of the series, I tell you go get it. You know, maybe if you're not exactly a fan, you can hold off for a little bit, because I'm completely aware that BioWare, or as we speak, are pushing out updates that are addressing a lot of the issues the game has had these past few weeks, and it will easily be a way better product than it is like relatively close to launch now. But if you still feel like it is not worth putting down your $60, I'm not completely mad at you for that. If you want to pass on it for a bit, pass on it. I still think you should play it. I think the gameplay warrants at least like a visit, you know what I mean? But you'll find that I personally do not like number scoring systems, but I know a lot of people kind of need those numbers for reference if it's a good or bad game. But totally think you guys should go out and get it. If you want to be a stickler, the final verdict is a 7.5 out of 10. Sticklers for ticklers. So yeah, I hope you guys appreciate this review. We'll probably see some content from this game as they roll out their free multiplayer add-ons, and I'm sure they have some story DLC. I'll tell you personally, I'm probably going to purchase everything they release, so you can look forward to more content. And this is a review from Dajhier. Peace out.